Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Senator, I rise today to speak to inquiry number 11 on the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Exclusion Act initiated by my colleague Senator Yan Pao-Wu. First, I would like to share my appreciation for Senator Wu's initiative in leading this important and timely conversation in the Red Chamber, which you all know had a pivotal role in the profoundly damaging legislation, the Chinese Immigration Act, also known as the Chinese Exclusion Act. Some of our honourable colleagues have already spoken about the exclusion, detrimental effects on the Chinese Canadian community. I was profoundly touched by the allyship expressed in their speeches regarding this inquiry, such as Senator Jeffer and Senator McCollum. Unfortunately, this act's cruelty is unimaginable to many in this chamber. We know too well that our country's history is marked with periods of exclusionary and reprehensible actions. Nevertheless, allow me to remind you of the Act's discriminative measures. In practice, Chinese Immigration Act prohibited Chinese immigration. As a result, families were torn apart, opportunities were lost, and autonomous lives were destroyed. Canadians of Chinese descent were also deprived of full citizenship in their home and native land. However, this community never succumbed despite these systematic challenges. Chinese Canadians steadily dismantled and overcame hurdles through incredible resilience and determination. In 1947, freedom of movement was reclaimed, and the right to citizenship was re-established in 1948. We slowly started to gain the right to vote. In further years, we reconnected with our parents and rebuilt our family. Most importantly, we thrived and contributed to Canada's economic and social development. I have no doubt, honourable colleagues, that Canada could not be a great country it is today if not for the resilience of the Chinese Canadian community and countless other minority communities. Unfortunately, even with all the time that has passed, lessons can be forgotten and society can regress. 75 years ago, systematic inequality brought about a rise of anti-Chinese racism. Today, following the pandemic and geopolitical issues, the Asian community in Canada finds itself the target once again. Over the course of past 3 years, an unfortunate sentiment has been shared with me repeatedly in not so many terms. Parallels are felt between our modern day and what took place 100 years ago. Uninvolved individuals of Asian community feel concerned by politics. They find themselves stranded between love in their millennial culture heritage and pointed political language. I would be remiss if I didn't caution my parliamentarian colleagues. Yet again, you take special care to differentiate between our Chinese Canadian community and those they criticize. Even more distressing is when such critics are misunderstood by some in the public and taken to an extreme, ultimately being manifested in the form of violence and hate. During the pandemic, for example, we witnessed repeated cases of rioting turning into violence in the street of our great country. As I have mentioned in the past, I have experienced an episode of anti-Asian hate just a few steps away outside the Parliament Hill, and I constantly endured hateful comments directed at me in social media channels. That, however, is a sad price that we parliamentarians pay for being public figures. Nevertheless, private citizens have not signed up for such harsh criticism and hate. Political critics are being misinterpreted as judgment towards individuals, and it pains me to hear that many feel personally attacked by the language used by our politicians. Colleagues, I do believe we are conscientious by nature here in Canada. Let us remember this great quality and speak accordingly when voicing our political opinion. Just how our words can be a force for good, they can also be a force for wrong. The success of Chinese Canadians comes despite the never-ending and similarly worsening anti-Asian racism. Our story of resilience are many. Take, for example, Lieutenant Commander William King Lloyd, who, despite being denied enlistment at the Royal Canadian Navy multiple times, went on to make history as the first officer of Chinese descent in any of the Commonwealth navies. On another positive note, it is evident that this has been some evolutions. I stand here today as an ethnic Chinese senator from Ontario, speaking on an inquiry started by an ethnic Chinese senator from BC, which speaks volumes about how far we have come since 1923. Indeed, there is still work to be done, and striving for equality and cultural appreciation should be our ceaseless goal. Nevertheless, I am proud to know that despite our past faults, Canada remains a beacon of hope and heaven of multiculturalism and inclusion in today's world. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Language.